Right. I think we're live now. There we go. So we kind of had a little conversation and thought we was live and technically wasn't live yet. So that's what you get when you get an amateur like me that starts this stuff out. Yeah.
We know we was doing something wrong.
We had a practice. We had a practice introduction.
We talked 7 minutes. There wasn't anybody listening to us, so that's bad.
JW wasn't even listening to me, was he?
Well, he was dancing for us.
He was a little dancing going.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Anyway, we're sorry about that, folks.
I expected something, but I thought I was a little late getting in on here myself, so I thought y'all were live. So it didn't look like you were live. It was coming up on my screen.
Well, anyway, we're glad to have everybody here tonight. If y'all don't know, today's Amber's birthday, and yesterday was Ruth's birthday, so they're getting a little older. Amber's getting a little more talkative. You know, them 13s are, you know, she started like middle ways of, she's 12 and a half. So anyway.
So when you say talky, do you mean more like, I don't know, what's a good word? Sassy?
There you go. Sassy is a good word. She's becoming a beautiful lady. Let's put it that way.
That's right. She's figuring out her boundaries and what she can do and all that good stuff, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Lee started with that puppy thing.
Yesterday too.
Yeah, JW had a birthday. That's right. That's right.
Turned 60 years old the other day, didn't he?
Well,
I wish that was right.
Somebody said 81, but I don't know if that's the truth or not. He don't look no 81.
Well, believe me, I feel like it.
Well, anyway.
Were you sore from walking around, JW?
Not really. No.
Good.
Oh, no.
So for us, we've had a lot of cold weather, and we've got about 4 inches left in the yard, and maybe this weekend we'll get 10 inches. And you know, I know the Nobby had that big storm pushing through. That's kind of what hit us. So anyway, JW, is you gonna get any of this weather, or have you checked your bees out? What's going on with them?
Well, yeah, I got that first storm. I got about 6 or 7 inches, depends on, you know, and of course it's 15 degrees here right now, so all the snow's pretty well on the ground. I did get out Monday. I came home Saturday afternoon, and of course it snowed. It started snowing, I don't know what, during the night on Saturday, and it snowed all day Sunday and quit during the night Sunday night. And Monday I got out and cleaned off my landing board entrances, all my hives, and stuck my ear down the side of them. I don't have a flare or anything, but they're all buzzing. So they're still alive so far. So I've got candy boards and insulation on the top of them. So I think I'm pretty good shape. We'll see how they do. I've done all I can do for them. Now we're supposed to get another 3 to 5. We're talking possibly how this starting tomorrow. So it's pretty unusual even for this country. We usually don't. If it snows, we usually just maybe get an inch and it'll melt off about the second day usually. But it's hanging in there this time. So right. I think it's getting warm all the way down south. Y'all are getting some too. How much snow you got?
We've got about 4 inches still in the yard, but like I said, we're going to get that big and this weekend. And I think even Lee, he can pop on here and tell us for sure. I think he's supposed to get some thunderstorms this weekend down in his area, and still be kind of cold when it pops through. Is that right, Lee?
Yeah, we're supposed to be having some come through right now.
Oh, right now.
We had a little drizzle about an hour ago, and then that's all I've seen, but I hadn't checked the radar lately. But it was supposed to come down fairly hard tonight, and then about halfway through the morning tomorrow morning. Try to pull the radar.
Yeah.
It's showing
Yeah,
clouds all around us, but no rain at the moment.
I think as of right now, like the snow here is supposed to start around midnight, and they're saying like 2 to 3 inches, so not like horrible. But the problem here is a lot of the roads, especially back roads, are just covered in a layer of ice. So it's gonna be more snow on top of ice.
So you guys
Well,
are just
except
going to get ice, Melissa? Is that right?
what?
You guys are just getting ice out of this?
No, so that storm that came through over the weekend
Okay.
where we live, we got like 3 inches of sleet, and then like what 3 or 4 inches of snow on top of that. So like 8 inches total.
Wow.
And that sleet, it's just solidified into ice, and so a lot of the back roads, they can't get that ice up because it's just been so bitterly cold. And then we're going to get this 2 to 3 or so inches of snow on top of that, all except for our subdivision. It's perfectly clean.
No,
Thanks.
all of what Melissa meant to say was all of my snow counts are perfectly
There we
clean,
go. Yeah.
not just our subdivision.
Well, what was this? I heard something about the reverse.
Oh,
Oh, Lee, what are you trying to do this to me, man? I'm trying to forget about this, and you're bringing it up.
Yeah, we got to throw you under the bus too now.
Well, I was already there with the reverse situation. Now I'm getting backed over. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, so my truck this camera's horrible. Now that we're pretty much done with the storm, and I have 2 trucks, but the truck that I drive, the reverse gear went out in it. Well, when my son was driving it, no fault of his own. He didn't do anything. It was, just something that happened. No big deal. So now it's sitting down at the transmission shop getting a full rebuild on it. So that'll cut into my bottom line a little bit. But the other truck is still good. Everything's fine. No big deal. Just, I guess something that we'll just have to deal with. So no big deal. But we still have one truck, and I have a lot of friends. So any of us get in a position, or if we can help each other out a little bit. So.
So Spanky Steve Amos is asking about your area off the mountain there. What are you getting in your location coming up?
I don't know. They keep on changing it.
Yeah, it's changed several times up here for us also. And you don't know, Spanky's off the mountain from me. So we're like 3,000 feet above sea level. And Spanky, you're probably what, about 15, 17, somewhere now?
I don't know.
Yeah.
We're just down the mountain.
Yeah. So, but anyway, big storm coming, and I just want to get into all the stories about Nobby, and let's hear what happened there. And if you guys are in the chat, you want to chime in, or if you want to come on the chat tonight, feel free to come in and talk to us. It's I think the link is pinned, so we would love to hear from people and their thoughts and how much they enjoyed it. So but anyway, we'll let Tom and Melissa talk a little bit about their experience to start with. And speaking of that, Tom, I think Jeff Ross asked you if that was a Chevrolet that went out on. So you can start.
Yeah. Hey, listen, I'm going to start with saying I'm a Super Duty fan. I'm a Ford fan, all right? But right now, both of my work trucks are not that. I have a couple of Chevy pickup trucks, yeah. So yes, it is, and I only say that because I know Joey's got a Super Duty, so he's probably fixing to poke on me a little bit, and that's okay. That's all right.
So tell us about the Nobby. I know you guys posted a video. I watched part of that video. So how was the experience compared to all the other years that we was together? Was this like again one of those top experiences? Was it a little less meeting new people? Just go down the line for us.
for me, I think it gets better every year. Last year it was just bigger. It was almost overwhelming. It was so much bigger. And if anybody watched the stream team last night, and they came in and they talked about how, anytime, if you've gone to multiple of these, Cayman basically runs around like a chicken with his head cut off because he's putting out all the fires. He's doing this, he's doing that. And he just seemed a lot more relaxed this year. Everybody seemed a lot more relaxed this year. It was more like we've all kind of figured this out. We know what it is. We're just coming to like a big reunion and gather back together, meet new people, reconnect with old friends that we've had. Like it was really amazing in that sense. It definitely was bigger. There was more vendors. There was more space. That was great. The added classes, like we did the comb class. I thought that those were a great addition to the conference. It was just there was just a lot of cool experiences. Meeting so many of you guys on the chat that we've been talking to for a year now, but have not ever met face to face. Like that was amazing. Just actually seeing people, even people that we talk to, like that come on the screen, like it's just a whole different thing to actually say, hey, you're a real person, So that was just really incredible, just meeting so many people. Probably a few of my favorite, like there was just so many things that happened, but like the No Life dinner was amazing. Like just seeing so many people gathered in one place that just love bees or love beekeeping, that was cool. Even though we had a little bit of a snafu in the beginning with the seating, it was supposed to be set up for 50 people and they set it up for 35 people. So we had to do a little bit of juggling and adjusting and that. And then like pretty much right after after I entered all my honey stuff into the workshop, which that's a whole other story. Larry and Marianne Sears like come up to us and presented us with one of their amazing cutting boards.
Oh my God.
Like just kind of blew us away because that was not anything that we were expecting. And we were just really honored to receive that. And then she was telling us how she had made one for Greg and she's like, I didn't tell him I put it up. I found a spot in his booth and I set it up. She's like, I don't even know if he's seen it yet. So I'm like, that's hilarious because she kind of alluded to what was on it. And if any of you watched the live last night, you know what was on it. And so I kind of went over to his booth to find what she put, because I wanted to get a picture of it. And she made one similar size that said where short story longs are told or something similar to that. And so I'm walking around the booth trying to find it. And I go around the corner and I see all of the customized boxes that they made. And there's like, I see our name on one. I was like, wait a minute, like that is not real. So then I go and I find Tom, like, come here and look at these boxes. I'm like, they're really cool because he had been on the other side of the booth. He's like, yeah, there's they did this last year. There's Hive Alive and whatever, all the companies. And I'm like, well, look at these ones over here. And I go, look. He goes, oh, that's Brian's name. I'm like, yeah. And like, look there's JW. And he was like, wait a minute, that's our name. So that was pretty cool. That was really cool. But those two things were cool. The next probably highlight was going to the St. Louis group dinner and getting the people to sing happy birthday to JW and him breaking out and dance.
He was breaking out and dance, was he?
That was probably JW's highlight also. That was probably his favorite part of the entire trip. That was pretty incredible. That was a lot of fun. But yeah, and then the next thing would be when we did the group No Life photo and Philip presented that Hives to Heroes check to them. The big check that he had printed up. That was like the next thing that was really, it was like every single day there was something significant that happened and it was just a really amazing experience all around. But here's the box that Greg did. I don't know if you could. And then we were so fortunate enough that we
Awesome.
actually got to bring home 2 boxes.
So listen,
What?
I'm not
We
normally
got 2 boxes.
I'm not normally a guy that would take something that didn't belong to me, but I'm hoping you guys won't tell anybody that I grabbed this. Listen, I'm hoping you guys are sworn to secrecy. Don't tell anybody that I grabbed that box. So, lip
We have to
sealed.
figure out. We have to figure out the this camera.
It's a good thing you did, Ricky, because I left it there. I forgot it when I left.
Yeah.
I always forget something.
Well, you forgot. Well, at the Illinois conference, you forgot to grab that comb, honey. This one, you forgot your box.
I'm surprised he ain't blamed us yet
I
for
know.
stealing it.
I know.
Basically.
Right. Right.
Surprised he ain't done it yet. There's one more thing I grabbed this weekend that doesn't actually belong to me. It's this guy right here.
Oh, yeah.
Mm.
That's awesome. I can't wait to get to use it.
That's the interview inner cover that Ricky won from the Hives to Heroes raffle.
Highs 4.
Hives for Heroes raffle that Joey had donated. So we got that for you when you come to St. Louis, Ricky.
Or
Appreciate
maybe if you decide you don't show up, I keep it. So you better come.
I'm
Oh,
coming.
you're just revealing that.
Yeah, you better come. Otherwise, you're going to have to answer to your wife about that.
Andrew, there's a ornament hanging on that tree still.
So, JW, what was your highlights, and what did you think about Nobby? And
I thought it was good. I just enjoyed visiting online to everyone, Met a lot of people that I hadn't met, and a lot of good people, and really enjoyed visiting with everyone. And unlike most places that I usually go to eat out, I went with that bunch from Missouri, which I didn't care about to start with, because they all live on the dirty side of the river. And the food was good. That was amazing. I didn't know what we were getting into, but the food was excellent. Impressed with that was.
We had ate there last year, and we were really impressed with the food. So we thought it'd be a good place to go back to this year.
Well, about once a lifetime. It's probably about all I could afford of it, but it was good food.
That place wasn't the cheapest place you would visit, but I'll tell you, the atmosphere and the food and service was pretty top notch. Wouldn't you think, JW?
That gal did a wonderful job. One lady waited on all of us, and what was her? Probably 12.
I think 12 or 13. Sounds about right.
10, 11, 12, 13. Yeah, 13. So it was good.
We just had a heck of a night that night. I'll tell you what, I wouldn't trade that for all the money in the world. That was priceless. It was just a great time,
And we met some new best friends. I did met a young couple from actually they were from Illinois. We had a lot of fun with them.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, they were a hoot.
Yeah. No, that was fun. It was a good time.
At our hotel, it was us, JW, Matt and Alicia with Sandy Valley Farms, and then Brandy and Jamie with Sweet Harlan was staying there. And every night after dinner, whatever, we'd go down and hang out in the lobby and talk and whatnot. And I don't think we went to bed before midnight any night. Just
those
hanging
guys,
out in the lobby.
I'll tell you what, those guys kept me and JW up all night long. We needed our beauty sleep, and they just kept us up half the night long.
What made me so mad though, Rick, I didn't have any of my honey with me, and unless it was a Hawk and Honey, heck, she probably sold $3,000 worth of honey down in the lobby of
No, I didn't.
that hotel.
That sounds like a myth to try to, sell that bourbon honey probably down there. Probably made a fortune off of it. It's like gold, I'm sure.
No,
We sold a few.
I think we sold like 9 bottles while we were down there.
Yeah.
And then a portion of that we're actually going to donate to Hives for Heroes when they're in St. Louis.
Yep. We'll write them a check.
I will say this, people don't understand when you take honey to a honey show, you're not. I don't think you're going to sell very much unless you got something that people's never really had before. And so, that bourbon honey, that's something different. So that's something people will buy versus just bringing regular honey.
All right.
So
The tickets for what, DC?
I think he's talking for the expo, or maybe I'm right with that, or maybe he's talking about y'all's place.
So the tickets for the EMBA workshop just went up, so they're $110 right now. But I don't know which tickets you're talking about.
I can tell you our experience class is selling out pretty fast.
Miss you guys too, Jeremy.
Normally it was a pretty split, beginners and experience. This time the experience side's selling out pretty fast. So we have 4 weeks left?
Yeah,
I guess
almost exactly.
Yeah.
Our Nobby staff was dialed in.
They were, yeah.
It was like a well-oiled machine.
It was. Hey, my hat's off to you, Jeremy. Steve Amos is in here.
Yeah,
I didn't know if Randy, is he in here? I don't know.
Yeah, Randy was in here. Yep.
Yeah, there he is. Yeah, Randy. You know what? I didn't get enough time to spend with them. I got to talk with Randy a little bit. I got to talk with Steve for a little while there in the back. I didn't get to talk with Jeremy too long because these guys were busy. And, I felt bad for hanging up with their time. But you know what? That was the place for us to really connect and stuff. I actually got to meet I met Steve Amos last year and we had a great conversation at Jed Thorne's booth, but I didn't actually physically meet Jeremy.
Occasion.
Or I had not met Randy, but I'll tell you what, man, I had such great conversations with those guys. Much like all these people in the chat here, these guys are just phenomenal, just down to earth, salt of the earth people. You get to share some great stories. It's basically like you come as friends with these guys, but you're leaving as family. Because you already feel like these guys. But I'll tell you what, these guys did a phenomenal job. Even though they kept Steve in the back. Anybody ever seen Steve in person? You can click on his profile pic. That's not Steve Amos right there. Steve Amos is about a head above, taller than I am. He's built a lot heavier than I am, and he's got this beard that's there that will. It'll scare the. Yeah. Steve is a big old dude. You wouldn't if Steve told you to do something.
A lumberjack outfit.
Yeah, he does. You're right.
If Steve told you to do something, you wouldn't say no. You'd be like, yes, sir. So when these guys are in the back, making sure that everything was going smoothly, Jeremy, Randy, and I know I'm missing some people there. So if anybody else is in there, forgive me. There was a lot of guys that were there working hard, but I really appreciate you guys there in the back because and I understand it because that's what makes these things work and operate. It's the guys that are behind the scenes that do all the heavy lifting, the leg work and things like that. So again, my hat's off to you guys. I was really fortunate to be able to get to have some kind of chat with you. I wish I'd be able to do it a little bit longer, honestly, but I didn't want to hang you guys up. But it was pretty awesome. Those were some of the highlights of my time down there. Melissa and I went to one class, which was the
yes, DC. That would be about the average.
Yeah, oh, you made me lose my train of thought. I had a short story long going.
We went to one class.
That's a long story.
I know. I had this all drawn out in my head, and she distracted me. Yeah, but we had the one comb class we went to, but that's the only class Melissa and I stepped foot in besides the honey show announcement. We never stepped foot in the class. We just were living in the moment the entire time and visiting everybody. And don't get me wrong, I love the education behind it, but I was torn between, do I get to go visit with everybody or do I watch the classroom settings, which I'd rather do that in person, but I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and live in the moment. I was able to get some pictures this time with a lot of people. We tried to really focus on that. Really didn't get much video footage. I know Phil had run around and done like an hour and a half long video doing that, but
live.
I'll tell you, I was just so much living in the moment that I'd get pictures with as many people as I could. And Melissa did make a small little compilation video, which kind of highlighted a few things, which was pretty awesome. But man, I'll tell you what, that was the highlight of my time, just spending time with everybody down there. It was, I'd go back next year if they didn't have one speaker or one vendor. So it was pretty phenomenal. Just a lot of great people there. and like I said, Melissa had mentioned earlier, I think Greg just rolled in the chat. You missed out, Melissa, and I gave you a little shout out, but
we got to come home with an extra box.
Yeah, we came in with an extra box. Don't tell JW, but just a couple things that people had surprised us with. I mean, I never could have expected it. Was not expecting it, but was very much humbled by what I saw there. So really, thank you guys for making us feel special with that. But really, the highlight was me getting to see everybody. That's really what it was. Is me getting to spend time with everybody, having some great conversations. Greg and I did a little short story long video. That was really fun. Just again, living in the moment and, making connections with people. I think that's where it's at.
What I really enjoyed about it also, Ricky, if I may interject, is that Miss Marianne Sears put all the young bucks in their place. She showed them how it was done.
Yeah, you go. That's all.
They're going to have to tune up their presentations a little better. We're going to beat the honey queens. All I can tell them.
I tell you what, she did some amazing. She had some amazing entries on the Honey Show.
Yeah, she did.
They are some of the most creative people that I have ever met. Like she did. One was like a mouse house, a miniature mouse house, and it was like every little a beekeeper's house or something like that, but it was like mouse themed, and everything was like perfect. And then she did this other one that was like round, and it was actually made out of an old. She said it was an old cheese box, like what they used to sell cheese in, and it was so cute. And then she did another one dedicated to Fred Dunn, and I'm sure a lot of you have seen these online that have been posted, but it was just, I don't know. She's so creative. Like it's crazy.
I'm going to send some of these pictures to Lee so he can post them.
Yeah, I see Greg down there in the chat. He got that guitar.
Oh yeah.
That thing was nice. Spanky sent me a picture of that. That's pretty cool, Greg. You definitely went out with that one now, I tell you.
That guitar was pretty cool.
Well, and Greg told the story yesterday evening of how he was basically blessed with it. He basically went out there and threw a number on this thing. He's saying, hey, I wanted it, but my goal here was actually to provoke people with a really high stimulating number so that we could benefit the Highs for Heroes program. So he was really just trying to stimulate people, with a really cool item. And he did just that. And actually by him doing that, he ended up with it. He told the story on Nature's Image, and I don't want to steal that from him. You guys can go back and watch that, or I'm sure he'll tell it again. But that was pretty amazing story. And I think that speaks volumes to how he raises his family and his children and such. So that's pretty amazing.
So you were talking about the Sears though, and because Marianne won the grand champion. Was it the grand champion?
Yes.
The grand champion ribbon. And one of that award ceremony, one of the other highlights was Roberta. What was her last name?
Her name was
JJ and Roberta Baker.
That's right.
Baker won blue ribbon for the black jar. And let me tell you, I've never seen somebody so just taken a bit. Like she giggled. It was like I was like had tears in my eyes because I was so happy where she was. She's actually they're actually friends of Brandy and Jamie Wynn. So we were all sitting together in the front row when they called her name. She was in utter shock and she just could not stop giggling.
No.
And it was just the sweetest, most amazing thing because she is just giggling the whole time because she's in just complete disbelief. They're second year beekeepers.
Right.
This is the first time that they had ever harvested honey and the first time they'd ever entered anything into a honey show. And she was just tickled beyond belief that they won the first place black jar. And it was
I told JJ, who was her husband, and he's a huge cut up too, which him and I hit it off perfectly. I told him, I said, JJ, I'm pretty sure right now you could do no wrong. So if you have bought something you weren't supposed to or done something, this would be the time to tell your wife, I said, because I'm pretty sure you couldn't wipe the smile off of her face, man.
Well,
So I thought that was amazing. Just, it was so genuine. I was glad that people like that won it, you know?
and then the other thing that was just amazing about that is we were by them too when they called their son, adult son, and she had him on speakerphone and she's telling him, she's so excited. She's telling him about this, and he is just like over the moon. Like you could hear it in his voice.
Yeah.
Over the moon, excited for his mom. And it was just the sweetest thing. You know, better people could not have, that could not have gone to a better people.
Yeah. I thought that was awesome for Miss Marianne Sears and her husband. The same thing with Larry. I don't know if they're on here or not.
Oh my gosh.
But I'll tell you, some of the things that those two do across the year, I don't know how they have time to make so many gifts for so many people, as well as this right here. This is the thing that has
the cheese box.
They won first place on this, and and here's the thing. That picture that you're seeing right there does not do that justice. Not at all.
Like that little beeswax thing. That little beeswax thing. That's a beeswax wrap.
Yeah,
so the little blanket thing, tablecloth thing, that's a beeswax wrap. She has, those are beeswax candles, like every little detail. It's just amazing.
Yeah. This is one that she made for Fred Dunn. So if you read in the back, it says on air and it says, "Are we done yet?" There was another picture that I had of that shows the other side of the cover on it. And I'll tell you, that was right there. It says "The Way to Be" is the title. But I'll tell you, she made that and entered that kind of in honor of him. And if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure she gifted that to Fred.
Yeah, I think so.
He may have actually, I don't know if he did a video or he had highlighted it in some way, shape, or form. This was another thing that she had done that, again, this picture does not do justice. The amount of detail.
The keeper's cottage is that's what the little pink sign says, the keeper's cottage.
The backside of that roof comes off, and I had a couple other pictures. I don't know if I actually sent them to Lee or not, but the detail that's inside of this thing is phenomenal. I mean, you like each
the smoker has smoke coming out of it.
Yeah, you can see looks to be smoke with this little smoker right there on top of the beehive. All the detail in this was just, I mean, it blew my mind. Every time I'd look at something new, I'd find something new, you know? So Melissa and I stared at that thing for probably like 5 or 10 minutes and Mr. Larry had come over when we was talking about it. And, you know, same thing with him. When his wife won, you couldn't have knocked the smile off of his face. I mean, he was so proud of his wife and what she had done. I mean, those type of connections and those feelings that those people threw down was just the most genuine that you can imagine. Is just, I can't speak enough volumes toward that.
Got a picture of the North Carolina beekeepers there. It's a pretty good looking group. I hate I didn't get in there.
Look, somebody stood in for you, Ricky. Do you see someone in that picture that doesn't belong?
I see Brian over here, it looks like, from Claire Street.
Mr. Colorado himself.
Snuck right in there, didn't he?
Well, he said that he was running late. Was it for the No Life picture?
I can't remember.
And he saw all these people in front of this group, in front of the banner. So he thought it was the group. So he ran in and kneeled down real quick and got the picture. And after it was taken, he realized, oh, this isn't my group.
Guy.
Yeah, he's just building it.
Yeah, exactly right, Spanky. Likely story.
He's trying to get in that he's been there a while.
I bet he got every one of the pictures if we really didn't know. So
yeah, Brian was his body double, right? Hey, Brian doesn't have enough, you know.
Does anybody?
Girth there to meet up with Steve. Steve's a big old.
Well, that's why he was kneeling down.
So it must have been, yeah.
I think Steve's actually taller than Randy, if I'm not mistaken.
I saw them standing. I saw a picture of Steve and Randy standing next to each other somewhere. I can't remember who posted that.
When I was in the back talking with Steve, luckily he was sitting down, so I didn't have to look up at him. You know, that doesn't really happen too often for me. So he was sitting down eating lunch when we were back there chatting for a while.
Michigan, Yep. Brian had said something about, he's from North Carolina, Colorado, and Michigan now.
Yeah.
Is that going to be his thing now? He's just going to go and
Photo
bomb all
yeah.
the photos.
Brian's something else, that's for sure.
Yeah. He
He's going to
definitely.
be everywhere.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
didn't have Lee there either. Everybody's talking about me not being. We didn't have Lee there either. Spanky
I
didn't
know.
show up. I tell you.
He hides in the background.
He got mentioned a lot too, and I told him, I was like, you have no idea how much trouble I gave those guys about not coming, but I'm like, they had their reasons. So I said, well, we're going to work pretty hard on here this next year. We're not going to let them get by with 2 years in a row and not coming. So you all figure out what you got to do, Ricky and Lee. At Spanky too, for crying out loud.
I've never been to one. You don't even start with me. I ain't
Hey,
never been to
no,
one.
I'm starting with you, man. You need to figure it out. We're gonna get you out there, and I'll tell you what, you're gonna be selling short story longs too, Ricky.
Yeah.
We're gonna have you out there giving speeches or something, man.
No, we'll get Spanky to do the speeches for us. How's that?
That's right. I like that.
It's going to be a short speech.
Nah, we're gonna get this worked out for you, man. You gotta come out there and get involved with us. You're gonna have such a good time, man. We'd love seeing you out there.
So tell me something, and even in the chat, tell me something that when you went is something new that you hadn't ever thought about, or something you hadn't seen, or something that you're pretty excited about that you're going to see maybe revolutionize the bee community. Did you guys see anything like that there?
I don't know.
Something that we haven't seen before.
Maybe something you ain't seen before, something that was really cool, maybe a new product.
What impressed me the most was those, I think they were from Italy. Those hives that they put in the buildings, and the frames ran them horizontally instead of vertically.
Yeah, the Slovenian.
I don't
The
know.
AZ hives, the AZ hives.
Whatever they are, I'm not sure. But
Yeah.
that was quite impressive, I thought. Yeah.
So one thing that we bought that wasn't on our list was, I can't even remember the name because I can't pronounce it. He was doing the 3D printing of the mites and the varroa.
Oh yeah.
And he did like the whole life cycle of the bee. And so I ordered that because I thought it would be a really good teaching thing to take when I go to talk to schools and stuff like that. But that was really cool. I can't remember what the name of this thing was though.
What's this AI extractor Joseph's talking about?
Where an AI? I don't know.
That'd be pretty cool.
I missed that.
Greg says, Steve says, Greg, copper dip hives are exciting. They are exciting. That's a good product right there.
It'd be interesting to see how well those hold up, which I'm sure they will. Sunday morning try.
So I got to win something off of the Highest for Heroes.
No. That's
I'm sorry, for the next gen program table. That was pretty cool. I was pretty pumped to be able to get this, honestly. And here's another thing I want to send to Lee to throw up. That'll be pretty fun to talk about. I was trying to find the picture of that thing you were referencing, Melissa.
Oh, did you take a picture of it?
I did, actually.
Latin came out. Yeah.
Come out. AI extractor. That's pretty cool. Voice activated. Wow, that's really cool.
Huh. Yeah, we didn't visit the Sivian. I don't know how you say that. Thing, because I know their stuff is way above my budget.
I didn't take a picture of it.
Oh, yeah. Well, how do you say the name?
Apiture apiary.
Yeah.
He 3D prints. Spanky'd be able to geek out with this guy pretty good. He builds up, and I'm sure you guys would be able to know exactly what type of filament you're using and all this kind of stuff. I mean, you guys would connect with this guy really well, but it shows the life cycle in the cells of each from an egg all the way down. Melissa kind of mentioned it. I didn't take a picture of it. We ordered it for Melissa. That was one of those things where it was kind of we weren't planning on buying, but it was pretty cost effective actually. And it would be a great teaching tool for younger folks and stuff.
I think it was only like $40. Like it wasn't bad at all.
Yeah, definitely.
Who had that anyway, Tom?
I'm sorry, sir.
I would like to have one of those too. Who had that there? Who makes those?
Sure, apiary.
I'll send you the link to that. That way you can see that.
Send that to Lee.
I'll send you. Okay, I'll send the pic. I just took a picture of the
His
thing
ad.
to Lee, to his ad on his QR code thing. But I can send the website to the guy. He said he's like, it'll be about 6 weeks for me to print all this stuff because he didn't have a bunch of them there, and he has another full-time job himself. And I said that's fine. I'm like, we're just looking for it. Maybe starting this spring when Melissa does presentations for the elementary schools and stuff. But Lee's got there in the background this company that we're referencing. And I know there's kind of it's the light kind of messed up what it says, but it's Aperture Apiary. He's on Facebook there. I think he had his QR code for a website and stuff too. But anyway, we ordered that, and again, it'll be just a nice teaching tool right there. So if anybody is interested in something like that, it was. I mean, I don't know what he normally sells it for. It'd be like free shipping and everything as soon as he gets it done. But just another kind of cool
ordered
teaching
it,
tool.
Navi. I don't know if that's what he usually does.
Yeah. But there was another thing there that Lee's got there in the background too that I thought was pretty cool. And Spanky, you'll like this. This is 3D printed.
Yeah.
This was at the Easy Peasy Dan Long's booth. He makes the Easy Peasy queen cages. So this was pretty fun. We had to get a picture of this, and I'm gonna give for reference. The height of that was roughly probably 10, 11 inches tall, and the width of it was probably, I don't know. I felt like it was
16.
Every bit of that wide. I'm going to say maybe not quite 2 foot, but maybe even closer to 20 inches wide. So it was pretty big, but it was really cool to be able to see that there.
Mount Beekeepers.
Yeah. Quickly recognized the guys on. Although I must say though, Cayman doesn't look quite like.
He looks a little younger.
He looks younger in the picture, right? So, but everybody else, it worked out really well. Kind of made Bob Benny look more like Santa Claus with his beard, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
But that was fun. So it was just a good time. And then Greg got, if you guys watched the live chat from last night, Greg shows a picture of the guitar that he won Cayman's brother Ethan, I guess he does 3D printing, and he 3D printed an electric guitar. Actually, the frame, the main base of it. I don't want to say the frame because the handle and all that stuff was a little bit different, but it was probably original stuff. But
Yeah.
it was pretty cool.
There you go, Ricky. You went and bought one, and now look.
Yeah, I know that kind of makes.
Elko City's come out with one.
Ricky, did you buy the Simple Harmony Farms one?
I sure did when we went to the North Carolina Bee Association last January, February, March. But when was that, Spanky, when we went down there?
That was last year.
Last year, yeah.
When that was.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually did end up buying one of those for us, and then modified it with a little stand so that I could use it. I like it. I think it works great for someone that's not got a ton of honey to deal with, and it works good, Probably need to move up, for us, but we're not quite there yet. Maybe next year for us.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at John's has some kind of electronics. It actually runs you don't hand.
Oh, okay.
Does it have electronics that run it, or is that just to heat the rollers? Because I know the rollers are heated on John's.
I think in the video it runs, but I'd have to go back and look.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Phil 33 Mile, he shows that video in his live stream.
Oh, okay.
Joey says it's just heat.
Yeah, see, that's what I was thinking too. It was just heat, but I could have been mistaken. I didn't look at it really hard. So Nancy, you asked, was that Fred or Corey? That was Fred. It was Cayman, Fred, who was the guy?
Mr. Ed.
Mr. Ed, and then obviously Bob Benny on the right. And yes, Steve, it does look a little bit like Kenny Rogers.
There is one American manufacturer, those hive lifters, I think, but don't ask me who they are. I've seen their ads.
Won't surprise me if it shows
Meat
up
Journal, I think it was. They're not heavily made like the other ones, I don't think so.
Hey, Spanky, what were you saying?
Oh, I was saying it wouldn't surprise me if a hive lifter shows up at Hillco City.
I think actually John, when we were talking at one point, he mentioned that they had some ideas in the works. So he also has some sort of an automatic uncapper set up, maybe somewhat similar to the license. I don't know exactly because he didn't disclose that information exactly, but he's got something like that in the works too. So yeah, Spanky, you're on the right track there. He definitely does. He's got something like that idea in the works.
Hey, Ricky, I don't think the link ever got pinned or dropped for people to join if they wanted to join.
I see it on there.
Do you?
Yeah.
Who?
Yeah, it says in.
Mexico over the holidays.
Should be at the top. Right?
Hey, Lee, pop up that picture. I want to brag on Miss Mary Ann for 1 minute if I could. So this was on the next gen program table. And I'll tell you what, I don't know how many, I should have done a short video and I didn't, of how many different items were on the raffle table, the silent auction table for the next generation B program. But there was a lot of cool things. And this was only one of the many things that Miss Mary Ann and Mr. Larry had actually made. And now, Ricky, I still want you to make the two that I had summoned you to make for me. So if you've already, I still want those, okay? But when I seen this, I couldn't help myself. It's made out of poplar, and this thing was absolutely gorgeous. I just love the simple lines on this thing, made with real glass. Construction was beautiful. Had some really nice hardware on it. But I couldn't help myself but to actually bid on this, and actually I got outbid on it, ironically. And then, so toward the end of the conference, Melissa and I were trying to get all of our things together because we wanted to leave a little bit early ourselves to get back in St. Louis so I could get started with some of my work before the storm actually hit. And interestingly enough, I got a call from an out-of-town number, and I'd been getting a lot of calls over the last few days from people wanting me to bid snow removal work because St. Louis was going to be getting hit hard, and it did. And that, for the most part, I was kind of just sending them all a voicemail and screening them as I needed to. But I got a call and ignored it, and then I got another call like 10 minutes later, and I thought I felt like I should answer it for whatever reason, and I did. And it was one of the gals in charge of the silent auction thing, and said, "Hey, we noticed that you had bid on the piece from Miss Mary Ann Sears." And I'm like, "Yeah, I sure did." But she goes, and I knew I had gotten outbid on it because that thing went really high beyond, and I felt like I was being generous with my number, but it got really high. And I just didn't have the budget for it. So I had to kind of back off. But then they said, "Hey," we went down the list, like 3 people down, because there was a few people beyond me, and said, "Hey, these folks, either these people left, those, people didn't answer their phones. So we were going to you." And they said, "Do you still want it?" And I'm like, "Yeah, absolutely. I'm still here." I said, "I put the number on it. I will gladly, pay up." I said, "I just assumed that I didn't win it." And that was that. And she goes, "Well, yeah," she goes, "We'd love to have whatever." And I said, "Absolutely." So I ran over there and paid for it and picked it up. And I was really, really glad to have brought it home, honestly, and pretty pumped about having that piece to be able to display honey frames here in the future. So I'm hoping Ricky will still be working on one for me too, get us something cool, no pressure, but you got a month.
Yeah, well, Randy McCaffrey actually got in contact with me once one also, so I haven't started them yet. So
no worries.
Randy, who's that? Like,
I don't know who Randy McCaffrey is,
I've never heard of him. What?
Yeah.
His wife got second in the black jar too.
She did.
Oh, really?
Got second in black jar. Yep.
Wow.
she wasn't in the room when that was being announced, but she found out pretty quickly thereafter. Randy had his wife working pretty much double time along with Mike Berry's wife, who we got to visit with for probably about, I don't know, I'd say at least 20 minutes or better, which was a real treat. Anybody has ever met Mike Berry's wife? I'll tell you what, just a beautiful person inside and out, and another person that's super genuine and just a kind soul. So if you ever see Mike Berry and his wife is able to tag along, she's not really any type of beekeeper, but she was there helping out Miss Elizabeth McCaffrey inside of there, because those ladies are the ones that run that show. We all know that, right? So that was pretty fun to be able to visit with those two also. But she wasn't in the room when that was announced, and she was pretty pumped to hear that had actually won. So, and that was national, by the way. There was honeys being judged not just in this country too. So a lot from outside of the country that were being judged in that same black jar category. So
it was national and international.
Yep. So
that was Sean, I didn't forget you, buddy. I seen you got your pictures. I just hadn't got a chance to send you some info back. So definitely gonna get yours also. Sorry about that, guys.
So I think Steve was asking about the uncapper thing. We have the Lyson automatic uncapper, and it's knives, and we like it a lot. We wanted knives because we've seen videos of people with the chains, and the chain just looks like it tears up that comb so much.
Yeah, it leaves a lot of stuff to be filtered out too, I feel like. And that was I don't want to say issue, but that's the one caveat with the Simple Harmony Farms one, or even what, and I've never used the one that John has. I can only speak toward the one that I've used. It uses the knives. It'll uncap very quickly, and it works very well. I just noticed there's a lot of cappings when you're trying to strain out. So I was trying to eliminate some more of that a little bit ourselves. And we use a lot of that wax for candles and lip balms and things of that nature too. So harvesting a little bit more of that new wax out there helps us out with our operation as well. So
Well, if you want one, I can definitely set you up, brother. I'll take care of you.
And the one about the Lyson one is like they're heated, but the heating, it's an oil or something, and it's all enclosed.
So there's two different ones. So Lyson has the manual uncapper, and it also has the automatic uncapper. Both of them have heated knives, and they're heated differently. The manual uncapper, which is still a great machine, if you're on a budget, I would recommend that. Melissa and I were seriously considering that very much so until I talked to two individuals and basically said, you know what, buy once, cry once. Go with with the direction you're going with, you will get the benefit of, that's the manual uncapper. So underneath that, you'll see a steam generator. So that uses steam that goes up to the hoses that run into the hollow cutting knives that are up there. Lee's showing that with the cursor on there. I've never used it. I know guys who have, so that works very well. Again, it uses steam, so you have to refill that periodically, and I don't know how long that lasts. So that would be something for somebody else that has that machine to answer. The one that Melissa and I got is the automatic version, which is a little bit more expensive, a little more costly, but you notice there's no steam generator under it. But it'll be hard to tell, but right above that blue motor on the right-hand side, right where the Lee's pointing, that is the I don't want to say steam generator, but that's the heat source, and it uses propylene glycol, which is a food safe. Oh gosh, I don't know the term that I'm looking for, but it's basically a liquid that gets heated up inside that. So there's no steam generator, and that's a fully enclosed system. So you don't have to top it off. That should not have to happen ever unless it leaks out there for some reason. But that's a closed system. So that's another benefit to having the automatic one. You don't have to refill it to heat the knives up. You just plug it in, and it continues to go until you turn it off. So if anybody's considering the Lyson units, like I said, we have experience with that. And we did make a short video last year kind of highlighting that just a little bit. So if anybody wants to watch that video, if it helps you, great. If you have questions, put comments down. And we may actually this next year go into more detail on that machine with the video, just, pointing out what we see, how we've used it, and how that works. So if that helps somebody out, then, we'd be glad to do that. It's one of those things where I've mentioned before in the past, with my lawn and landscaping company, I can go to any dealer and a new machine, a new mower, a new skid steer, and I can demo any one of those units and try them out before I buy them. But when it comes to honey production and such, I don't know of any company out there that says, "Hey, come pick up our machine or our line, and try it out before you buy it." That's one of those things where you kind of rely on other people who have had it, and maybe seeing it in person or seeing somebody operate it that has one is the kind of only way it gets to work with that. So, they're a large investment for those lines, and you really can't just try them out first. So it's always beneficial to find somebody who actually has one that can tell you the ups and downs or the things they do like or don't like about them, which is kind of what Melissa and I did originally. There's two guys I know that had the license automatic uncapper. One of them I got to go out and see in action, and the other guy actually, matter of fact, it was Dwayne with Dogwood Ridge had talked to me about it because he has one and explained to me the ins and outs and what he thought would be more beneficial for Melissa and I's operation. So,
which he sold that business to Growing Success.
Yeah, that is now Dogwood Ridge Bees has now changed name. So if you won't see the same name Dogwood Ridge anymore, they're still in the same location. I think JW had told me that. It's Melissa and Dan. I want to say Schroeder. If I remember, I had an opportunity to talk with them. They're really, really solid people too, but they took over that business. And to the best of my knowledge, they're going to run it the same way that Dwayne himself had run it. So we did buy a couple things from them because they are a licensed dealer as well. And they did change the name to Growing Success. So if you see Growing Success, that's formerly known as Dogwood Ridge Bees. JW has also vouched for Dwayne and his operation, as well as all his woodenware and his operation, the way he ran the business before, saying it was pretty top notch, and he was really pleased with his boxes. Isn't that right?
Very much so. Excellent operation. He's got a wood shop out of this world and makes his own on premises there. And I talked to those folks that just bought it pretty extensively there at Nobby, and they say they're gonna continue, and Dwayne's kind of directing them, hoping they hope to maintain the same quality, and they do. I highly recommend it, very much so.
She seemed like, when I spoke with her a lot too, JW, and I spoke with Dan. Actually, spoke a couple times for quite some time, honestly, at their booth and also in the back there. And they seemed very much dedicated to wanting to keep the same quality of everything in place. And I've explained to them, like, you guys realize you have big shoes to fill, and she's like, "Yeah, I'm definitely well aware of that." And she's like, "We're gonna make sure to do everything we can to see it through." And I firmly believe that that's where their heart's intention is, to make sure that business remains with the same quality, customer service, and care that you would expect from most small beekeeping operations like that.
And in fact, I'm thinking about maybe going down there tomorrow. They're about 80 miles from me, but through the country, it's a nice little drive.
DC, you asked about the baffle honey drain system. Is that called a clarifier? Yes, it is. If you're referring to the one that I have, that one is a Hilco, and that it has 4 different baffles, sections, stations, whatever you want to call it. On that video that Melissa and I had done last year, if you want to look on our YouTube channel, if that helps you out in any way, shape, or form, I kind of go through and show the clarifying process and how, that was real-time footage of how it was working for us. So, I was pretty pleased with it. It doesn't capture everything, but it catches most of it.
Oh yeah, there wasn't much that you were skimming off the top of those barrels.
If you were doing a small batch, I wouldn't recommend doing that. If I was just going to do, 20, 30, maybe even 40 gallons, I probably wouldn't use a clarifier, because if I remember correctly, I think that clarifier of John's, I think was, oh gosh, don't hold me to it, folks. Go on his website and look it up. I want to say 18, 20 gallons, something like that.
Somebody said he may have had a smaller one at the expo this year, though. So
If-
I don't know. Maybe look at
Possibly he did. I didn't see it. I don't know. That could be. That would be better for somebody that was doing small batches. But if I was going to do a small batch and not do a full extraction, I would probably not use a clarifier, and I would probably maybe, and let's say you even wanted to pump it out of a clarifying setup into a larger drum or whatever. You could even use a large bucket or some kind of holding tank to pump out of, and because all that stuff floats to the top. It doesn't stay down very long. It floats very quickly, all the wax and such. So when I have the extractor loaded and turn it on, how many frames can you uncap when time to load again? So I'm not sure that I'm fully understanding that, but
Well, that holds. How many frames does the uncapper?
the
hold?
uncapper, I want to say 30 or 30-ish,
Yeah,
maybe 32.
it basically holds a whole nother load.
Maybe it was, so Mark, maybe it was 32 because the extractor that I have and the one that we pre-ordered for you at Nobby, the 32 frame extractor. If I remember right, if I uncapped a whole load of them, I can then actually run all those into an extractor, which actually worked out perfectly, which is the reason I went with the 32. So if I'm not mistaken, if that's the question that you're asking, I hope I clarified that. I think it's 30, 32, 33, somewhere right in that area. And it'll do, the license automatic uncapper will actually do those 33 frames. I mean, just about as fast as you can feed them.
Yeah, it's
Um,
fast.
And I mean, the key to that is
30
having,
plus frame. Oh no, that's perfect for beekeepers with 30 plus frame extractor. Hold on. Never mind.
I mean, I can run, 32 frames through that. I mean, I don't know. How long do you think? 5, 6, 7 minutes, maybe?
Maybe.
I mean, it doesn't take long. The key is to having the good drawn out, wide frame,
The tank holds about 30 frames, is what the description says.
Feeder speed, 9 RPMs, revolutions per minute there. Yeah. That's the automatic that Lee has pulled up and showing there.
What would you consider a small batch that you wouldn't use the clarifier?
Ooh, boy, that's a good question, DC.
Well, we didn't use one last year, and
Let me think about that.
we should have.
I'm going to give you my opinion here. If I was only going to do anything less than 40 or 50 gallons, I probably wouldn't use a clarifier. And that maybe even more than that, honestly. Just because I feel like you're going to spend more time cleaning it out and processing it through there. The guy that I know that lives near me that has the license automatic uncapper, he doesn't have a clarifier set up. What he does is he has his extractor elevated, so he runs to the automatic uncapper. He has the guys loaded into, I think he's only got like a 20 or 24 frame data extractor, but it's on an elevated surface, and he has it somehow kind of like bolted down in some framework, and then he has like a large, it's not just a bucket. I want to say it's like a 10-gallon.
It's like a settling tank.
Settling tank, maybe a 13-gallon settling tank under it. And he just lets it run out into there. And then he has a hose that runs from the top into there, which he could put a fitting on there and run a hose and pump it out at the bottom, which would probably be more beneficial. And he just pumps it out. And when it pumps down so far, he actually just stops the pump. So he's pumping down that 13 gallons as he needs to. So the pump's not running constantly. He goes over, he manually flips it on, and then from there, it kind of he shuts it back off whenever he's got it, pumped down within maybe 4 or 5 inches from the top. It's not a perfect setup, but it really does save time. So that would be another option for somebody, I think, doing a small batch. I think that's probably how I would do it. I would probably not use the clarifier on that. So again, that's just my opinion of how I would work it.
So Tom, they're asking here, what size extractor should I purchase if my goal is to go to 50 production hives? And And Lindsay, I think Lindsay's got a good idea. I mean, at least the 36 frame extractor. But what do y'all think about that?
I don't know. We're running a 32, but we ran two. Well, we ran an 18 and a 32.
24 and a 32.
24 and a 32. Yeah.
You
But
know,
the year before, we only had But the year before, when we had that many production hives, what did we run? What extractor? The 24.
24. Yeah.
So at least that.
I would say this. I would say that depends on how much time you have. For one, if you have more time than a budget that you want to spend, I would weigh that and consider that very, very closely. If you are a person who's extremely busy and you have less time for extraction, maybe you might have a better budget to buy something a little more expensive or a little bit bigger. I don't like telling people what they should buy. You know what I'm saying? That's a question that really should be determined by how much money you want to spend versus how much time you want to spend, you know?
I would think you'd want a minimum of a 24, though.
If in my opinion, I would say yes, I would want no less than a 24 frame extractor. That sounds really big and huge, but I don't know. JW, what do you think?
How many hives does he have?
50 production.
Yeah, I'd say 24 minimum, probably a 32 actually.
My question would be this: you have 50 production hives. What's the average honey crop, averaged over 3 years, if you can give me that information, that you would see per hive on that crop? I mean, are we talking 60 pounds, 100, 200? You know, what is that? Because that could make the big difference right there. You know, 50 production hives where I'm at would be far different than where 50 production hives would be at where Ian Stepler's at, where his hives are pumping out 200, 250 pounds per hive. If Brad was on here, he'd know that exact number. But I mean,
if you, I think he's trying to get to 50 production hives, so you may not need that big extractor this coming year. If you're trying to get to 50, you're still trying to build comb and some other stuff. So if you're trying to build to get there, you still got just a little bit of time before you're going to need this bigger extractor. So just think about that.
Well, what you get into there, Ricky, is like everybody says, buy once and buy right or whatever. Because if he's fully intends to go to 50 or more, you might as well get it because you're going to want a bigger one. I can tell you from experience, you know. So
Phil brings up a good point here. He says, I use an 18 frame with 60 hives, but I had to get something that would fit through the room I have. That's a great point. If you're using a garage that has a double, I mean, you can get something as big as you want, right? But if you're going through a door opening, make that consideration and learn to figure out what the exact width is on that.
24 is as big as you can get to a standard door, I think, a 24 frame.
Yeah, that's probably exactly
you get to a standard door.
Mark had the same thinking too on that. Actually, when he was considering, we were talking about the 32 or the other one, and he asked me to go out and measure it, and I measured the opening or the width on that thing, and he's like, you know, I would consider maybe going with something bigger, but that's the biggest I can fit through the door. And he's like, you know, I'm not going to resize the door that I have for my honey house for that. So that would be something else to consider as well.
Mark, you better not just be thinking you're done with running a 6 frame. 6 frame. you got a bigger one coming.
Yes, sir. We've ordered that dude for you, and it's coming.
There's no thinking about it or not anymore.
But I'll tell you, Mark, if you really didn't want it, you can leave it here. We'll figure out a place for it. Okay. Mm-hmm. If you already paid for it, buddy, and it'll be here for you. But you know, you could leave it here. I'm sure somebody would take that dude. But maybe, Mark, you don't get rid of that 6 frame. Maybe you hang on to it for a backup, or we're doing a small batch or something like that too. You never know. You know.
Yeah, and Russ Copeland's like, he's retired, but you know, he runs 2,100 pounds. That's a lot of honey, you know.
So, here's another question though. Like, is that because like we harvest everything at one time? Now, are you harvesting that 2,100 pounds all at one time, or are you doing it casually?
Yeah.
Throughout the season, you know, because that makes a difference also.
Yeah, definitely does. Well, like Russ here says, he says, I'm retired, you know? So, yeah. I mean, I don't pretend to know what he does on a daily basis, but, you know, I would guess he's got a lot more free time than he once probably did when he was, you know, working throughout his working years. I mean, I could be wrong. I'm not trying to speak for him, but that's something to consider.
See, he harvests every 10 days all summer.
Oh, there you go.
So that makes a difference too. You can.
Yeah. I would say if you had a small extractor, pull the honey off of your colonies that you can extract within a couple days. Don't let honey super sit around for, in my opinion, longer than 3 days. And when Melissa and I pull it, and if we put it in the garage and turn the dehumidifier on, we don't open that door back up after everything goes in there. So we want a really, really dry space in which we're extracting, so we're not introducing a lot of unnecessary humid air, which we're in a very humid climate. So if you're in a really dry climate, that may not be an issue for you. But I think when you start getting above somewhere about a 30 something to 40% relative humidity, at that point in time, you will start introducing moisture into the honey as you're slinging it. But if you can keep that down below, Bob Benny did a video on that speaks specifically toward that percentage. I want to say it was somewhere around 35%, 40%. We try to keep our garage at the low 30s, and which is pretty dry, by the way.
It's usually like 30.
You won't hardly break a sweat when it's that dry. Matter of fact, it's a little bit dehydrating. But we're really trying to pull any excess moisture we have out of the honey as we're extracting. So, don't pull it, a week, 2 weeks ahead of time and think that you will have a hive beetle problem. Don't think that you wouldn't have some potential larva that wasn't laid in there that'll hatch and start sliming your honey. So pay close attention to that.
Yeah, Gary, those big ones will walk just like the little ones if you get them out of balance.
Yeah. Joey mentioned an 18 frame, and I'll say that's what I use, an 18 frame. I've got quite a few colonies, but I don't have 50 production colonies. Probably more like 20. But the 18 frame works great for me, just like Joseph Rollins. And I like it because I can really pick out my honey colors, and I can spin out my lights first, my mediums, and then my darks. And I'm a little bit like Russ. I tend to do my honey as the season goes. So I'm getting my spring honey and my mid-spring and then my summer and then late fall. So I'm not really mixing a lot of honey together. That's a little bit, you get too big of an extractor, you're just spinning everything out, right? You're not really getting those flavors that you're looking for also.
Unless you're us and we go through every box and sort the frames, which is what I do. Sort the light frames and the dark frames and the super light frames, and we extract the lightest first and then, onward. But Joey said, go back, Lee, can you put Joey's comment back up there? I don't know where it went. There it is. Dual 18 frame extractors than a large one.
Yes.
So that's kind of what we did this year. We had the 24 and the 32 going at the same time.
Well, I would alternate back and forth.
Yeah. And it just made the process all the faster.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a great point, Joey. And that's a really, really good one to think about. Maybe then rather than having one big, huge one, maybe run two smaller ones. So now, you have a backup if one goes down. It's much easier to store a little bit smaller one than something like a 48. Melissa and I looked at that 48 that John came out with because I had considerations of it.
Tom looked at it.
But whenever I looked at it, I liked the 32 better. So he made some changes to that. I think it's a 48. The motor and the gearbox setup is on the bottom of it, so you have more access to the top and opening. The cool thing about the 48 is he's got a thicker plexiglass piece in the top that you can close while it's extracting. There's a light inside there. Mm-hmm. But I like the Hilco. The one thing that I thought is really cool is you can take that whole top motor assembly and controller box and everything, the gearbox, everything off and pull the whole thing apart. I mean, piece by piece, and it happens so fast. So it makes cleaning, it makes it a breeze. Cleaning an extractor that doesn't come apart is not easy. It's hard to do. But those Hilcos actually make it really easy to come apart and to clean and sanitize very, very easily, which is what I appreciate about them. But we did go back with another 32, so I'll be running two 32s back and forth. So
the ones that we have don't have a cage inside the extractor. It's just you set them in the slots.
Yeah, the 9 frame might be slightly different.
Yeah.
And he's made a few updates on some of them as they've gone along too. On design changes and things like that. It seems like when John comes out with something, they'll go through maybe 2 or 3 design changes on stuff. So if you're a person that likes to wait for the biggest, baddest or whatever, wait for him to put it out and do a couple of design changes and he tweaks them in. But another thing I'll say is John's pretty cool about giving you the updates too. Last year we bought the 32, and summer or early spring we used it. And then I noticed John came out with a new control box on there that has an automatic mode on there. And I said something to him about it. He's like, he goes, Tom, I'll set you up with a new box. No big deal. Take it off there. We'll get you set up with a new one. That way you've got all the latest and greatest. So that's not something that most companies will do either, folks. It's, I don't know. I just thought that was pretty cool of him to even offer that up to me.
So all of our extractors, Tom's put wheels on the bottom of them, so they don't really walk too bit. Like they don't like get out of balance, like jiggle. They'll kind of gradually walk around. You just kind of have to.
There's going to be some motion in it. It's difficult to get any extractor perfectly balanced. Do your best though. That's the best advice I can give to anybody, whether it's a 4-frame or a 32. Do your best to put similar weighted frames opposite of one another. Always do that. Whenever I'm loading up, I don't just go one slot all the way around. If I've got some where it's getting down to the pickings on there where I've got some that are a little lighter, I start spinning the reel as I'm putting them in back and forth. If they're all pretty much same, it doesn't really matter much. Just try to weight it appropriately, and that'll cause it to walk less. The wheels did help out because there's some motion to it, and it helps to absorb that motion. That, or if you have the opportunity to bolt it down to some framework maybe, or even if you have a dedicated space, bolt it down to your dedicated space and leave it. If I had a designated space, that's what I would do. I would bolt everything down to the floor. But I don't. So mine stays on wheels.
Yeah, I'm a lot like Jeremy. I start my extractor really slow, and I'll get it up to about 3,000 RPMs, and then I'll stop it, and then I'll reverse it back the other way, and then I'll run that thing at full speed to get the honey out. That definitely works really good. And like Tom says, getting those heavy frames, if you can get them on opposite sides, this is a heavy, this is a light, you can really set that extractor up. That'll definitely help yourself out.
Absolutely. Yeah, don't throw all the frames in there and then crank it up to max speed. You're going to be climbing on top of that thing trying to hold it down
and still not be able to hold it down.
As it walks out of your garage and walks down the street is what it'll be. No, that'd be a good video. Somebody do that. Somebody make put several frames in your extractor and unweight it, and then crank that thing up to whatever, 100 miles an hour, and then climb on top of it and see how far it walks you down your extraction room.
We could do a side-by-side video of the extractor wobbling back and forth and a video of Charlie dancing at the same time. Oh, that'd be great.
Oh my gosh, that would be a video for Lee to do. He could pull that off, and you'd laugh for days on that thing. For days. Yeah, there you go, Phil. Extractor riding for 8 seconds. We should do that, right? So, okay, here's somebody bring an extractor.
The next no life
beekeepers. This is what we're doing. Save some honey frames back. Bring an extractor. We all see how long we can hang on to this thing, right?
No,
we're not doing it with mine though, so I'm not volunteering.
You can do that down at the next expo whenever you rent the booth. That'll be what it'll be.
That'd be awesome.
$5 to start the bet.
It unplugs itself, Joey. So, well, we'll have to get Rob at Robbie's to rig us up something.
Battery pack for it.
There you go, battery powered. That or just maybe mount a underneath it on the framework. You can mount up a generator under it, right, and just plug it in straight from there, so you can ride it down the road or something. Yeah, Ricky, I'll tell you, you guys really missed out on that No Life for Dinner. That was really cool getting to see everybody, meet everybody before the whole expo began. We're already in talks about a new space for this next year. Okay. The food, the waitress was awesome. That was great. The problem is we had a space that was supposed to hold 55 that was only set up for 35. We made it work. We lost a few people out of there that I think
went around to the
restaurant side, which was disappointing for us, and we were not happy about that. But because we wanted everybody had to be in the same space and be able to have a good time with that, and for the most part, that was once everyone settled in, it was okay. But we were disappointed that we felt we led everybody astray, but we were kind of led astray ourselves a little bit on the expectation there. So we're actually looking for a new space this next year that probably hold, I'd say at least 100, maybe 150. So if anybody like maybe Jeremy has some cool ideas about the Louisville area, or anybody in here has got some great insight for a new space that's not too far from the exposition center, I'd say ideally within 15 minutes, that we could rent at a reasonable cost. And for this next year's dinner, I think that we'd probably be able to see a lot more people coming, and I'd like to be able to accommodate all those folks, not have to exclude anybody. So we would also probably be looking toward that Wednesday evening again. That way we don't step on toes with Matthews, Beaks for Brews, which has always been on Thursday. The Hives for Heroes, that's on Friday. I don't want to interfere with that. And sometimes people leave early on Saturday and such. And so I feel like Wednesday, the day before, if people could come in that day, that still might be the most appropriate. So
Yeah, email us your ideas, Jeremy.
hey, Jeremy, I don't know if I gave you my number or not, but I'm gonna message you my number, and sometime when you have some free time, we'll actually chat, because I'd love to hear if you have some ideas. Let me see here.
That's the cool thing about what Cayman did. I seen Jeremy's comment when they first started at the beginning. They're already planning for next year, and that's kind of what you got to do. You got to plan for the next year. Let's get things set up and together, and it'll be a whole lot more fun. And you won't run in. You see the problems you got in last time, which say you can only get 35 in there. So now you need a better place. You're gonna have more people coming. So to be getting set up, that's the way to do it. And I will say this. I will donate a couple of dinners for the next one, free dinners. So, so we're going to make sure we get some people there, okay?
Well, we were planning on going to Ruth Chris Steakhouse. Yeah.
Okay.
Have you ever been to a Ruth Chris Steakhouse before?
Ricky's like, maybe I'll only donate a half a dinner.
Okay. I'll just make sure my wife wins at least one of them, okay?
EW's house. Well, we gotta wait till we hear from Cayman the dates, and I would assume he's gonna have it at the same location, but we gotta wait and make sure wait for all that to be announced first.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, he hinted at maybe more going on next year last night.
Yeah, that kind of sounded like it. So one of the things when they first announced the honey training council thing, which was before the one in Illinois. It was announced before the one I heard about, the one in Illinois that we ended up taking. I was like, man, I really want to take that class, but I don't want to sit in a class because it's an all-day thing. I don't want to sit in a classroom all day long on Thursday and miss, hanging out with people, maybe seeing other speakers, or, this, that, or the other. And to me, it sounded like maybe he's going to extend the expo, start it one day earlier, but that day earlier be all those specialized classes.
That would be awesome.
Before this goes into a rumor, okay?
Right. That was just my understanding. What
Melissa and I don't some specialized insight here.
We have no.
And that was just talk. There was some chatter about that. So
that's kind of what he alluded to on Greg's.
Yeah, you can go watch that
live last night.
Well, he did say that, but we don't want to be the ones to start any kind of rumors here, because this is not our expo, and
there is no confirmation in that whatsoever.
Right.
But that would be cool if that's what he ended up doing, because more people, he would be able to offer more classes, because like that cone class, he could only offer 2. And, you can only seat so many people inside those classrooms. So he'd be able to offer more classes, more people could take it, take up that opportunity. That would just be really cool if he was able to offer that.
And I'll be honest with you. I mean, as a vendor, and I've never got to not be a vendor, but it seems like the expo runs so fast. It's like, boom, it's gone. Mm-hmm. And you're like, for us, we're like, oh, okay, it's over with. But then you look back and it's like, man, I wish I had another day, just one extra day, or.
Well, and this year it seems like it ended even sooner, because everybody left. Like it seemed like everybody started leaving at like lunchtime. So it was like, you even lost like a half a day hanging out with people. But
yeah, for sure.
But if he was able to offer those classes, the day before. And I think it'd probably be something like they did with the honey show. Like if you were entering 3 or more items, you could enter the facility early just to enter those honey show items. You didn't get to go into the trade show or anything else like that. So I would assume it would be something similar where like on Thursday, you would be able to go take those classes, but you wouldn't be able to get in anywhere else because they'd still be setting up and, working.
Yeah.
But you'd be able to enter those classrooms or those, again, this is all speculation.
That would be a way that Melissa and I could actually make it into a classroom, Ricky.
Yeah, exactly.
We could then go there, sign up for them, and we could then make it into some classrooms and then go out and do the JW politicking.
Even as a vendor, I could go to get some classes. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't get to be a part of that stuff. That'd give me a chance to do some of that stuff.
Well, in the classes this year anyway, the classes were an extra fee. I think the comb class was like $15. Like it wasn't 15 or 20. It wasn't much, but it was above and beyond your ticket price.
Yeah. No, we really enjoyed it because the class size was small, which was nice because when Gus Mitchell had done the class, it was more, and he had said from the beginning, he's like, hey, he started talking about it, and he didn't have a whole slideshow presentation thing on it. It was just a little more candid, where he said, if you have questions, stop me and ask them. And everybody was. They were respectful about it, and we didn't keep interrupting them, but people had questions about things, and he kind of got to them and answered them. So it was it was a back and forth there, which was kind of cool. And there was only like maybe, I don't know, 20 people, maybe 25 people in each class. And he only did 2 classes. So yes, those did sell out in short of an hour, I think 50 minutes, and they were up. So if you were a person who was busy that day, unfortunately, you probably would have missed it. And I think there's a lot of people that really wanted to be in some of those that weren't. So he said, and this was kind of I don't think it was last minute, but the way that Cayman had acted is he wanted to get these things rolled out, but he couldn't do it in a big way because I know those guys are pretty tied up with all kinds of loose ends, trying to get all those to follow through. But, I know Chris Medeiros comes on with his staff here, I think this month sometime full time. So that will help to lighten his load a little bit. So, I'd imagine they'll be able to do even bigger and better things. So.
Well, guys, we're going to stop there. I do appreciate it, and we'll talk more Expo. I'm sure there'll be more stuff to come up, and as you see more shows, like we'll have Charlie tomorrow night, and then we'll have Tim and Hannah on Sunday, and I guess maybe Joey will be on Saturday again. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But he'll be there. Yeah, so it'll be a continued talk about the Expo and, good times, good fellowship. That's what I think beekeeping's about. So anyway, folks, we'll catch y'all next time. God bless.
Night, everybody.